Coming up on today's show, it's Valentine's Day weekend. Why not put a little love in the air? On the first half, we're going to be discussing dating and relationships, why some couples do extremely well, while others should be more aware of the red flags. So if you're already in an existing relationship or if you're considering a new one, you'll want to be listening in. So, Corrie, happy Valentine's Day weekend. Any plans at all?
I wish I could tell you yes, but in the world of pandemic, I will go to my living room perhaps. That will be no, things have more opened up. So we'll probably do some of the same old, but I'll spend it with the people I love. How about yourself?
Yeah, in a way, a bit similar. We're probably going to do a nice takeout. We're still not at the stage ready to jump into the restaurant, but we're going to support local and get a takeout or pick up a nice meal. And you know what's interesting? I bought flowers for Stephanie on Thursday, Corrie. You know, it's I just have an issue with the commercialization of all these things, and I buying flowers on Valentine's Day, and the prices are through the roof. So I went on Thursday, and Stephanie's on board, by the way, with buying flowers in advance. No problem. Until a buddy told me, Matt, you realize the florists have already increased their prices like well before Thursdays. You kind of burst my bubble because in my mind, you know what? Yeah, that may be the case, but I think I still got a good deal. So I'm going with that. So happy Valentine's Day, Stephanie, and to all our listeners. I hope everyone enjoys a great weekend. Corrie, what do we have coming up on the second half?
Well, in keeping with Valentine's Day, the whole theme, we wanted to explore finding love at any age. So we decided to reach out to some people that have found their soulmates, maybe even for the second time. So we are going to look at Love is in the Air at a seniors residence, and you are not going to believe what we discovered. You're going to hear a truly heartwarming story from a couple. One gentleman who will be turning 100 years old next month. That's coming up during our Helping Moms and Dads segment just after 3:30.
Yeah, I can't wait for that. That's coming up after the CTV news after 3:30. So, Corrie, looking forward to this wonderful guest who we both know so well and talking about dating and relationships.
Well, I have wanted to engage the expertise of this presenter for a long time, and what better topic than this? So in the spirit of Valentine's, we figured it would be a good idea to speak to an expert on dating and relationships. We wanted to discuss the good and perhaps the not so good. So who better to talk to than Lisa Brookman? Lisa is a psychotherapist and the co-director of West Island Therapy and Wellness Center, which promotes mental health and wellness. For over 2 decades, Lisa has been supporting people to deepen and strengthen their ability to transform their lives. She offers in-office and virtual online sessions to anyone who wants to connect more deeply to their inner voice, wants to be more purposeful, and cultivate a peaceful and enriched sense of self. Lisa, welcome to Life Unrehearsed.
Hi, guys. I'm so happy to be on with both of you today.
As are we.
I know that we also very much appreciate because we're catching you in the middle of a big move, and we can talk about that later.
We're moving, but I always have time for you two. You guys are fabulous.
Okay, thank you. So, Lisa, let's start off first and foremost. What would you say is the first sign that you are not in a good relationship?
You know what? It's very interesting because there's not something particular. What I talk about with my clients often in session, that first sign is that little nervous tinge feeling in your stomach that something just doesn't feel right in the relationship. It's that gut instinct that, you know what, I'm not sure this is what I want. And to me, that's the first sign we should look at. That's just, we can't put our finger on it, but we know something's just not right.
So true, right? You need to go with your gut, and very often it is right. So Lisa, we're going to put you on the spot with a few more red flags. We know we got to go with our gut. What are some other examples of some red flags?
You know what? There's so many, and some of the things that clients often talk about in our sessions are they feel like they can't be themselves, or they feel that they're being criticized. A lack of intimacy is also sometimes a red flag. Different visions and a value system, not kind of being in check with one another of what you want the future to look like. Those are all things that I think that if we're seeing that in our relationship, those are red flags. You need to stop, you need to reflect, and you need to kind of determine, is this really the right person for me?
That's the voice of Lisa Brookman, psychotherapist and co-owner of West Island Wellness and Therapy. We were listening to her on Life Unrehearsed with Corrie and Matt. Lisa, how soon should someone disclose information about themselves, if, like, for example, on a first date?
So, I'm really about transparency, on authenticity. So I think it's nice to kind of go into a first date being lighthearted. So I don't think we need to go and tell our deepest, darkest secrets. But I think it's nice to be transparent because, going on a date is really, I think, an experience of exposing yourself. But it's also trying to determine if this is someone you want to spend a little bit more time with. So if we're not transparent and we don't reveal about ourselves, people will often leave a first date, a second date, a fifth date, and they're just not sure even if it's moving in the right direction. So I say, throw caution to the wind, but be yourself and be transparent and share. You never know. It might be, love at first sight even.
So, Lisa, asking how many kids you want with me on the first date is not exactly one of the
you know what?
questions we want
Listen,
to ask,
that
right?
might be a bit too much, but do you want kids is great. And, a lot of people, they feel nervous to ask those kind of questions. But if you want to have children and you're on a date with someone who doesn't want children, why wait 5 or 6 dates to find out that information?
So true. That leads to, what I wanted to ask you about. Okay, you've done a date, maybe a second date, and you come to the realization that, this is not going to work out. This is not the person for me. How do you go about telling the person that?
I think we have to be thoughtful and mindful and do it in a way where we're not making them feel rejected. But if it doesn't feel right, I think we owe it to ourselves to be honest. And I always say, and this is something that I've kind of lived through in my life, is you never burn a bridge because you never know when you might cross paths with this person. You never know if this person might want to fix you up with their brother or their best friend or their coworker. So I say, you let them down in a nice, respectful, kind way, but you leave it amicable because you never know. Maybe you might cross paths with this person and, at least you can say you were thoughtful and mindful about letting them know rather than, sometimes we have this expression ghosting and we, just don't answer their text messages or we block them. And I feel that becomes hurtful. And people tend to feel a sense of rejection when we do things like that.
I'm so glad that you raised that topic, that word that I have come to hear from some of my clients as well, this ghosting as a way of not, I guess, confronting if you're uncomfortable about how to do it, so you don't do it by just disappearing. And could you even comment on what the effect of that could be on the person on the reciprocating end of that?
Well, they feel a sense of rejection and you feel hurt and you question, what did I do wrong? And I think that when we do that, we're actually lacking compassion and respect for the other person. And I know we do it as a way of protecting ourselves because we're not comfortable or we feel nervous about letting someone down. But, this honesty is the best policy. It goes a really far way. And if you just let someone know that it's not the right thing rather than making them feel this sense of rejection, I think you are doing them a service and you're actually doing yourself a service by being honest and transparent.
Absolutely. We're talking with Lisa Brookman. You're listening to Life Unrehearsed with Matt and Corrie. Lisa, we do have to head out to traffic. But when we come back, we want to ask you about the importance of first impressions. And we're also going to start looking on the positive sides of things about a good relationship. But first, we need to head to the CJAD Traffic Center. Let's hear from Jill Fitzgerald.
Welcome back to Life Unrehearsed. I'm Corrie Sirota, along with my co-host Matt Delvecchio, and we are talking about what to look for in relationships, good, bad, and maybe sometimes not so nice, on Valentine's Day weekend with physiotherapist and co-owner of West Island Therapy and Wellness Center, Lisa Brookman. Lisa, how important are first impressions?
I think first impressions are important. Although I think that making a good impression is also important, which means sometimes people are a bit anxious at the beginning. They're a bit nervous. They're not sure how to react on a first date. And, I always say that, we have to sometimes give it a little bit of time, because if we judge that person based only on the first impression, we might be missing really getting to know someone really great, because first impressions are not always done properly.
So true, Lisa. And, before traffic, we were talking about some of the red flags and so on. Let's turn it around a little bit. And what would indicate that you're in a good relationship?
To be able to be yourself, to feel respected by the person you're with, to be with someone that you enjoy spending time with them, someone that makes you laugh. You can sit and be silly with them and feel free-spirited. Someone who you have a shared value system with, you can fantasize about what the future looks like and you're on the same page. Those are all really good things that when we're in a really healthy relationship, those things come to the forefront.
And actually, I guess apropos what you're saying, the red flags would come in if you couldn't do or feel like you could be that way. Would that be fair?
Exactly. And it doesn't have to be all those things all the time. I always tell the couples that I've worked with, or people who are newly in the dating world, that, you have to set the bar high, absolutely. But all good relationships have ups and downs, and it's really how we navigate them. So, if you're dating someone and, you have most of them and you just haven't hit one of the points that are very important to you, I say just talk about it. Open up those lines of communication and let the person know, I enjoy spending time with you. I love that we have a shared value system, but I love to laugh, and I feel like we don't have enough of that in our relationship. How can we make that happen?
That's a great example. You're listening to Lisa Brookman, psychotherapist and co-director of West Island Therapy and Wellness Center. She's sharing some very important information about how to navigate relationships. So I'm now going to take it to the relationship is going. It's good. We're in a good groove. I'm curious about what your take on extended family. How important is extended family in terms of when would you even introduce? What's a good time to introduce your extended family to your partner?
So it's interesting because there's a lot of studies that show that millennials, there was a big research study, and they said that they don't share their significant other until about 10 or 12 weeks of dating, which sometimes is almost about 10 or 12 dates before they would even think of introducing the person to their family. So I don't think in my mind there's a steadfast time. It's when you feel that the person could be part of your future, that you can see what life looks like with them, and then you want to share that with your extended family. And I think it's important to open up those lines of communication, because family and friends, if that's part of your value system, them embracing your partner and everyone getting together and feeling comfortable should be very important. The only time I think it's a little bit different is if you're dating someone and you have children. And then I feel that, sometimes people will introduce the children to their significant other early, and then there's a breakup, and then the child goes through loss, and then, they introduce another person, and then there's another loss. So I say those are the people you have to be the most aware and the most mindful of when you introduce them. You have to really make sure that you have a really solid foundation with your significant other before you introduce them to your children.
Yeah, it makes so much sense, especially when it comes to the kids. Then on the other side, I've got a couple of buddies that say, oh my God, I'm not going to introduce them to my family. We're done with this relationship. Lisa, I wanted to ask you about, and this is really sensitive for some people because everyone has their skeletons in the closet, and some very serious, maybe past addiction issues. Even some might have been, for example, in prison. And, that has to affect the relationship. When do you bring things like this up, and should you?
I think that our past relationships are very important in teaching us about what we want in our relationships, what we don't want in our relationships. And I think, again, back to that transparency. But also, I think we need to keep in mind that if there's red flags, like if you are dating someone who cheated on their past 5 partners, you know, and that gets revealed to you, I might think that might be a red flag to say, like, if they've done it to 5 people, you know, will I be the 6th? Versus someone who might have gone through some trouble in their life, some mental health issues, some addiction. You know, if people have done the work and have tools and techniques, I don't think that should be necessarily a deterrent for deciding not to pursue a relationship with someone. I think being open and owning experiences that you have gone through, they only make us stronger and they only improve the relationship.
Very wise words, Lisa, very wise words. So
from
what
a
about...
wise woman.
Thanks, Matt.
So what about the friends and family that have an opinion about the person you're seeing? And again, how much do we listen to that, or how much do we allow it to influence us?
You know, I think that, you know, and I hope that family and friends have our best interests at heart, especially, you know, when it is around our happiness. So I think it's important to, you know, hear what our family has to say. But then I think we need to put it in perspective, and we need to do what feels right to us. And although our family and friends might be, you know, super protective of us, or they know we have gone through some hardship and they want to save us from experiences, but I think at the end of the day, we need to do what feels right. And, you know, I think that if we have family members who are being difficult with us and it doesn't feel comfortable, I think it's really important to communicate what we're feeling with our family members and maybe set out some boundaries to say, I appreciate so much that you have my back and that you care about me so deeply. However, the things that you're saying to me are hurting me, or they feel overwhelming. And I think it's just about balance, about hearing what our family has to say, but then, you know, again, setting those boundaries to make sure that they're not overstepping and infringing on our potential happiness.
Yeah, absolutely. Great words of advice. As usual, Lisa, it took us a while to get you on, but we want to thank you so much. So appropriate for Valentine's Day weekend, Lisa. Can you tell us a little more? How can people reach you?
So absolutely. So we actually just moved into a brand new space on St. Charles in the West Island. We're doing virtual sessions and we're doing in-person sessions. So they can check out our website. It's westislandtherapycenter.com. Or they can call us at the office. It's 514-696-0948. And also, anytime, you guys, I am a fan for life. So anytime you want me to come on, I am yours.
All right, thank you. That's Lisa Brookman, psychotherapist and the co-director of the West Island Therapy and Wellness Center. She has such a great team working for them, and feel free to call them when you can and if you do need them. And they, as she mentioned, they just did a big move this past week. All right, Corrie, what do we have coming up on Life Unrehearsed?
Coming up on Life Unrehearsed, we will continue our Valentine's Day theme as we talk to a couple of people who actually found love, well, I might even say soulmates, at a senior's residence, including a charming gentleman that will be turning 100 next month. That's coming up during our Helping Moms and Dads segment after the 3:30 CTV.